Now the moment we've all been waiting for.
I am Nate Riggle, and you are listening to The Way of the Bonfire. All right, and welcome back to the fourth installment of Lessons from Everywhere, the ongoing series within this podcast where I package up and deliver to you a list of 10 things I have learned from someone or a group of people or an experience or an industry, etc. The point of this emerges from the concept of curiosity and perspective, which are core pillars of this podcast, and how you don't have to just learn from the traditionally accepted role models or the strongest, fittest, and richest people to learn valuable lessons of fulfillment. In fact, those might even be some of the worst ones to learn from in some cases. There's a lot of people out there saying, please, they're saying, don't take advice from someone who doesn't have what you want. But I say, that is bad advice. Let's prove it today with lessons from everywhere, lessons from my 4-year-old. My little boy's going to be 5 later this month. So I wanted to get this one out there before he gets older on me. It's exciting, but it also breaks my heart a little bit. Let's go right into it here. Number 1. You mean not yet, Daddy. And this is the story behind this is I was asking him, there was a while where anytime he would ask me for a cookie or a brownie or really anything, I would say, no. And he would say, you mean not yet, Daddy. And I think there's a really powerful lesson in there because how often do we get a little bit upset when we don't get what we want as adults? And we think that no means never for some things, right? And sometimes it does mean never, right? We got to accept that. But there's other times where, and on the last one of the more recent podcasts, I talk about rejection and how that's a good sign of growth. And I feel like my little 4-year-old taught me a lesson in here that sometimes a rejection is just means it's the timing's not right. And the conditions aren't set yet for that. So don't get yourself down. You just mean not yet. Number 2, the Firebond. This is one he taught me. It's actually in relationship to this podcast. It's called The Way of the Bonfire, but he's a 4-year-old. And so he calls it, he says, are you doing your Firebond, Daddy? And I used to just think that was a cute little mistake he was making, which maybe it is to him or to anyone else. But to me, it also means there's something in the way of the bonfire that's focused on a bond. And that's really the essence of a connection, which is one of the core pillars of the fire. When you have a good, strong connection and it's with other humans that are part of that relationship, the bond is what you feel. That's a really good word to test the strength of your connection. Number 3, enthusiasm is contagious. I'll give you some examples. So my wife's going to be mad at me for telling this story, but maybe she's not even listening, so it's okay. There was one day where the toilet was clogged upstairs in our house, and this happens to everyone, so I don't think it's that bad. But my son had just gone to the bathroom and clogged it, and my wife comes out of the room and she says, Chase, because she knew he had clogged it, and he comes turning the corner and just yells at the top of his lungs, saves the day. He says, I unclogged the toilet. And it was almost impossible to be mad at him. And just his attitude was an enthusiasm. It totally changed the situation to not be, let's stay mad at this person. Let's scold him. It was like, okay, his attitude of enthusiasm makes me want to be better, right? And he'll do this with so many different things. I get jealous of people that just have this permanent enthusiasm about him when I have to muster it up quite a bit. But Chase is one of those people, and like he can see anything orange and he'll come running up to you and say, "Look, Daddy, that thing is orange," because it's his favorite color. And I don't want to drift off into like, okay, great, tell me some more boring stories about your kid for people that don't have kids. But I think that there's a lot of good lessons in here, and he'll get pumped up when he just finds a little car that is one he just hasn't. I haven't seen this one in forever, right? And that sort of enthusiasm tends to emanate into other people. And so often we think that emotions are just something that's automatic and something that we can't control, or that don't have as much bearing on a situation as logic or facts or whatever it is. But a lot of times people saying that stuff are saying it with a lot of emotion. So enthusiasm could just be the secret to success or fulfillment in any situation. Number 4, and this is on the same vein, it's okay to celebrate anything. At the beginning of this podcast, that's my 4-year-old saying, "And now, the moment you've all been waiting for." And I'll let you in on a little secret. He wasn't talking about the podcast. He was talking about some bread he had baked with my wife. And he was just so excited to eat it. It was just some bread. And sometimes we forget that we could just be excited about the little things. And we feel like we have to go on some big vacation or have some huge accomplishment to have great joy in every moment of our life. And Chase has proven that that's not true. Number 5, people like hugs. I know this is a little mushy for some of your manly men out there, and I feel like I'm a manly man, but for me, I love hugs too. And Chase always can make people smile when he runs up and hugs people. And I think sometimes we're just too disconnected. I don't know what it is, but here's something that Chase does that when you open the door, and this goes back to the enthusiasm and the celebration and the attitude. When you open the door and come home, even if you've been gone for 2 minutes, he'll go running up to the front door and yell, "That hug is mine." And it's just the coolest thing you could ever say to somebody. Like, he really values the chance to give you a hug and just find beauty in just that little moment and that little embrace. So think about that one. Number 6 is be you. A lot of people say this, but the cool thing about a 4-year-old is they don't realize that they have options to be other people or to try to put on a mask or pretend. And we can learn from watching them be themselves and see how unique and authentic they are and what kind of cool adventures they're bringing to the world because they're just being them. And we could all take a page out of that book. Number 7, moms really matter. Yeah, I did this right ahead of Mother's Day, didn't I? And that's more than they give themselves credit for. My 4-year-old, there's so often that I'll just be having a great time with him. And all of a sudden he'll just be like, "I need my mom." And I don't think it's separation anxiety. I don't think it's anything. I just think that little kids are not complete without their mom. And that might be true for the dad too, but there's something special about a mom in a little kid's life. And I think we really need to honor that this week and always. Number 8, when things go wrong, move on. It's more fun that way. Something about my 4-year-old that he's just always been great at this. I mean, he will get upset about something. Don't get me wrong, but he's not hung up on it all day. He will not. It's like within 5 minutes, you can pretty much count on him being on to the next thing and not letting that thing ruminate and ruin him and his mood. That's like, yeah, but that's over with. And I think that's how he looks at it too, because sometimes he'll say things like, After when he's in trouble, or if he doesn't get something like a dessert that he was supposed to get, he'll say, "But I'm being good now. I don't understand." I think that's just part of his personality, is that he's moved on. He's moved on from when things went wrong for him, or what he's done wrong. He forgives himself. I think we could all do better at that. Number 9, just drink in the wonder. He's still got those new eyes where just about anything you bring his way is going to make his eyes light up and his mouth open wide with like this excited smile, because he's experiencing things for the first time. And it's just a good reminder, after dealing with so many people that are just kind of have this been there, done that mentality, and not looking any deeper or seeing the beauty and simplicity. There's wonder all around us, and there's a chance for us all to be able to go and say, I don't need to travel across the world, although that's a great thing to do too, but I don't need to travel to some exotic location to find wonder. When there's wonder in every person that I meet, there's wonder in my backyard, there's wonder in nature, there's wonder in even just the buildings and things that I'm sitting in. And the curiosity element of that is what can help us see that wonder if we're willing to look away from a screen for a minute. Number 10 is no one is insignificant. The impact that this little boy has had on my life is incredible. And he hasn't had any formal training. He's never had a degree. He's never gone to college. He doesn't have fancy letters behind his name. He has not put me through any kind of programs or anything like that. But his ability, just by being him, is super significant to every life that he touches. And it's too easy to feel like we're being ignored or we're not having an impact. But I promise you that you're here for a reason, and that you are having impact, even if you're not intentionally doing some sort of thing to make that happen. I recommend being more intentional about it, but just know that you're not insignificant, and that the people that maybe you don't think are as important to pay attention to because they don't have clout or money or fame or riches or influence, doesn't matter. They've still got a lot of power that maybe connecting with them can bring you fulfillment. Consider that. And no, that was number 10. I'm going to give you a bonus here. And that is my son. One time my daughter came home from school, and maybe we weren't great parents because it was colder, and she comes in crying because her hands are cold and she didn't have her gloves on. And she'd walked home or ridden home from school, which is about a mile away. And she comes in crying, and we kind of started giving her all this attention. And I was, we're all like, honey, I'm so sorry. I should have sent you with your gloves. Where are your gloves? I didn't realize you didn't have them. And we're feeling all bad for him. And he's kind of missing out on the attention. So my 4-year-old walks outside he was, I think, recently turned 4 at that time. But he goes to the back door where it's snowing outside, and he just opens it for a second and steps out for 1 second, and then steps back in and starts bawling and acting like his hands are cold. And I think, I don't know that there's a huge lesson in here, but I just think he thought to himself, well, this is worth a shot to get some outside attention. And it was hilarious that he thought that he could just replicate it by stepping out for 1 second and pretending like he was cold. But I think there's a couple things to learn in there. Look, if you got an idea, it is worth a shot. And it did get him some attention, not in the way he expected. And the other side of it is, look, everybody just wants a little bit of love and attention. Let's see if we can do that better and pay attention to the people in our lives that mean a lot to us in better ways. Go get 'em. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. I love the chance to make your day better in some way, whether that ends up being just a quick reset that you needed to change things up, or even just a laugh or some fresh perspective. If you're getting value out of it, can you please do me a favor and share it with someone else? Because as more people find and listen to the show, I'm able to bring more good stuff more often. It is the fuel to the bonfire. Also, I'd love to hear your feedback and any thoughts or ideas or questions you have so we can be more connected and make the show even better with your input and your inspiration. The quickest way to do that is to send a message to my Instagram handle at Way of the Bonfire, which is also included in the show notes. And if you just want to avoid accidentally scrolling on social media, you can send me an email at nate@wayofthebonfire.com. And you know it, but make sure you click that follow button so you can catch new episodes as soon as they're available. Keep tending the bonfire, and we'll see you on the next one.